Hi everyone, you are watching the Intel Extreme Masters World Championship. I'm so glad you've joined us all, and we have a special treat for you. Please help me welcome to the stage Peter from Tobii Eye Tracking Software. Peter, please come out.
Hi Rachel, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, how are you?
Doing good. There's a lot of people here today.
Indeed there are. So we were talking backstage, you were telling me, what exactly is eye tracking software doing?
So Tobii Technology, being the world leader in eye tracking, it's a pretty simple technology. We have a little unit here that you're later going to see James having underneath his display when he's demoing for us. So putting this one underneath your screen and just plugging in the USB device, actually your game or your application is going to be streamed with data where you're looking on the screen. And the precision is about the same precision as touch. So you get the precision about a finger.
And where are you guys using this software?
Today we are using it mainly in two areas. We're using it to help disabled people to communicate. So people who cannot talk and maybe the only thing they can move are their eyes. We're also using it, I know you're interested in psychology, so we're using it in psychology where they are actually doing research on children and on neurology and also in market research and usability studies. Where we're seeing it coming, however, is think about a car where you don't have to look away from the road when you actually want to control your car, the air condition and your entertainment unit. Also looking into security applications and medical applications. But we're here for gaming, so gaming is a very important.
I was going to say this is all very exciting, but we're at a gaming conference. So tell me, what are you guys doing with eye tracking software and video games?
And video gaming. So imagine yourself. We're having the RTS, we're having the FPS, but we're also having the FIFA and the football and the team games. Imagine yourself playing FIFA football, and you only have to look at the player you actually want to pass the ball to. Or imagine yourself having a penalty shootout, and you can actually trick the goalie to go in the wrong direction because you're looking in one direction and shooting the goal in the other direction. We can look at an FPS game as well, where imagine yourself walking into a bar. There is a gorgeous lady. You're sitting there on a chair in the bar, and you just happen to look a little bit too long at this beautiful lady, and this big biker stands up and saying, "Hey man, what are you looking at? That's my girlfriend." Imagine yourself being able to move into an FPS game where actually the input about where you're looking on the screen can actually move the game forward and making the game much more immersive, and you will feel that you're part of the game instead of just sitting outside looking at the game.
But we're here for Starcraft, sir. So you told me about FPS, you told me about sports games. How are you incorporating this into real-time strategy games like Starcraft 2?
So specifically for Starcraft, Tobii has developed a game accelerator which actually makes it possible to control certain aspects of the game with your eyes only, together with other inputs like the keyboard and the mouse. And specifically, we have three concepts that we have in this solution. The first one being something we call gaze warp, which means that if you're pressing a configurable button, you will actually enlarge the minimap, and looking at the specific point on the minimap and then releasing the button, you will automatically jump and have that as an active screen. So that's the first concept, the gaze warp using the minimap. The second concept is something we call instant action, and that means that if you have marked a unit, then you can actually, by just looking somewhere on the screen, you can actually move the unit, you can patrol the unit, you can attack another unit by just looking at that unit and pressing the attack button. The third and final one is the instant, let's see here now, what we call the third and final one, the instant pan. Yeah, so it's the instant pan where you're actually very easy, when you're having a screen up, you just have to look at the spot and press a button, and you will actually recenter the screen on exactly that spot. So you can actually move very fast by just looking at the screen and pressing a button to recenter the screen at this specific spot.
This is magic here, and I'm not going to believe it until I see it, I think.
It is sort of magic, and actually I'm standing here and I'm trying to explain to you, but it's very hard to explain. We do have a demo unit over at the Intel booth where you can try it for yourself to play Starcraft 2 with your eyes, together with the other input modalities.
We also have James set up over here. He's going to play a little bit of the Starcraft 2 campaign and hopefully show us those things that we've described to you. So,
yes, let's see.
Ready to start there, James? Ain't he pretty? Those eyes.
So those eyes, yeah. So what he's first going to show is using the mini-map to jump into different positions on the game board. So there you can see how he's enlarging the mini-map and looking and releasing, and he will jump to where he looked. So let's see if he will do that again.
There he goes. He's selecting on the mini-map. We trust you, James. We're with you.
Yeah, so that's not using the mouse or anything. You're using your gaze, and you're moving to the point where you're looking on the screen. How is it going, James? He cannot hear anything, I think. It's too loud in here.
He's immersed entirely in the game thanks to his vision immersion here. Oh, he's marching his marching.
So I think now what he's going to also have a look at is just recentering the image where he's looking on the screen. So by looking at a corner, pressing a button, he will actually recenter the screen exactly at this point. It's very hard to explain. You just have to believe us when you're seeing this. But as I said, try to go over to the Intel booth and try it for yourself.
Well, what this technology can do, actually, is remove a lot of the time it takes to pan around and to click. Do you have any idea how much it reduces the input time for a gamer?
Well, to be honest, if we're looking at these great players being here today and during CeBIT, for them, it's very hard to become faster right away. I think the people that will become faster the easiest are the more amateur players who can actually use this better, because these professional players, they have learned so much and they have it in their muscles exactly how they should play and so on. However, I would say it's the same as like in tennis. Things evolve, and today you cannot play with a wooden racket, you have to play with a graphite racket. So let's see what happens in the future.
Oh, well, we got a battle going on up here. Hopefully we can see him moving his units.
Yes, so here, what I think we're seeing here, James, is that he's actually just using the buttons and his gaze to actually attack units or move units or patrol units. So he doesn't have to click on the units he wants to attack, but he can basically look at the unit and click on the attack button. I think when James is ready, we're going to have to we will listen to him as well and see what he has to say.
Right, he should be here. He's right at the end. Oh, he destroys this. All right, James, congratulations. You've made it halfway through this campaign mission. I trust that you're able to finish it, but why don't you come on up here now and explain to us what you were just able to do. So the first thing we saw there was you enlarging the minimap. What were you actually, yourself doing?
Basically, well, it's imperative to note that there's no mouse movement going on at all. I've actually been able to select units as well and actually group them, which is quite nice without moving the mouse. But in terms of panning around the minimap, or at least moving from one spot to another on the minimap, just looking in one location up to the top right-hand corner and then releasing the button to actually go straight there makes for a pretty quick transition between places if you actually want to use that kind of tool.
So where do you think this is best utilized in the game of StarCraft 2?
Right now it's kind of hard to say. But it's still, as I said, in the prototype phases. But technically speaking, if you were able to kind of control these things and it was to become a little bit more fluid, maybe have assisted targeting as well, that would be really, really useful in terms of just being able to move around the map quicker if people really got used to it. Obviously, it takes a little bit of a learning curve, but once you get it down, it'd be really strong.
And what kind of steps are involved? You said you were able to actually select a group of units, move them across the map, all with your eyes. So is that just a number of buttons on the keyboard that you're pressing depending on what you're looking on?
Basically, yeah. The guys didn't actually tell me one of the functions, but I was messing around the keyboard at home and I worked it out myself. But if you basically just hold control down, you can start selecting a few units whilst you're actually holding down one of the buttons on the mouse as well. So you don't have to start boxing them and things like that. You can literally just look at them, press a button without having to box or select anything, and then you've got them in your control group.
You just stare them down and give them orders. Well, Peter, is there anything you'd like to know from James?
Well, I think you asked some very good questions. I mean, I have a question. Would you, with fine-tuning this, would you be interested in using it yourself?
Yeah, sure. I think it's very, very interesting to actually use this kind of technology. Actually, one of our pro players, TLO, just came over to me whilst I was using it, and he was like, that's really cool, I want to give that a go. So apparently pros are interested as well.
Well, one of the most incredible things about gaming is its accessibility. Pro gaming is accessible to Men, women, adults, children, disabled, it does not matter, and this is just another way to allow more people to enjoy these games, more people to enjoy esports, and empower them through gaming. So thank you so much for this incredible technology, and thank you, James, for your demonstration.
Thank you.
We'll be back soon with TLO versus Golden. Don't go anywhere. Hi, everybody, and welcome back. It's time for more games at the Intel Extreme Masters World Championship. I hope you found the table with the signs. Get out there, make some cheerfuls. We want to support these players. Coming up next, we have TLO versus Golden. So please help me welcome to the stage, representing Germany and Team Liquid, TLO. And his opponent, Golden. We have to wait for the rock music and then Gentlemen, there anything you would like to say to your opponent, Golden?
Sure, may the best player win.
May the best player win. Is there anything you would like to say to TLO?
Please make me easy.
Wow. All right, guys, well, please shake hands. Let's get this started. I'm going to hand it back to the analysts. Take it away, Jurosar.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Intel Extreme Masters World Championship. Golden versus TLO, and some fighting talk there before the start of the match. This is going to be one to watch.
Absolutely.
Feeling for your teammate, man?
I hope he wins.
Think you can do it? Snoot, of course, joining us here at the analysis desk. Harstem, this is a pretty entertaining game we're about to see. Do you have any particular feeling, any one side you're really rooting for here?
TLO, of course.
TLO, of course. But those were some pretty choice words from Golden.
Yeah, so TLO's going to be a bit mad, and that will make him play even better.
We'll find out. This particular matchup, of course, particularly interesting one as well. Yep, just going to make sure we have a game invite there. There we go. Is there any particular strategy? Map number 1 is going to be on Daybreak. Are there any particular strategies that either of you are looking forward to see from either of these players? Is there something maybe TLO has prepared you can share with us?
I'm thinking he might do the same build that he did on Daybreak earlier today. The queen with all the creep early on, so he sends the queens and the roaches out.
Yep.
I think TLO maybe might go for a strategy like that, but he also might resort to the traditional 2-base Mira that we are seeing so much of. It's a really strong strategy at the moment because of the powerful Miras, so that's also a possibility.
Do you think that if he will go for the same strategy, that he will follow it up with Swarm Host again, or do you think he will continue Roach production a little bit longer? Because last time he followed up with Swarm Host, it didn't end that well for him.
Yeah, I think that Swarm Host based off just of 2 bases against Zerg is not exactly a good idea, especially not against someone, you know, if someone goes for Miras, then Swarm Host is not always the best follow-up, so.
Now, you've had a lot of opportunity to play, of course, practice with TLO. What is his ZVZ like? Like, how good is his macro leading up to the muta control? Have you got a lot of chance to play ZVZs against him where both of you are going mutas? Does he tend to win those? Like, how confident is he with that particular composition?
I think he prefers to play different styles at the moment, but we also practiced a lot of Ling Mira CVC yesterday and also a little bit today. So he seems to be fairly good with it. He managed to take a couple of games off of me, but for the most part I did win.
Okay.
So I think at the moment he's the most comfortable with the other strategies, probably a bit more accustomed to the Wings of Liberty metagame.
Certainly.
But I would really not be surprised to see him going for Ling Mira. He's quite good with it as well. So I wouldn't exactly not trust TLO with Ling Mira as well. He can make anything happen, and he has such strong control with the Lings and Banelings early on. And
okay, yeah, makes sense.
one good Baneling can change the game around.
Well, it really can in ZVZ. I mean, those Baneling dancing early on in the game, of course, can mean everything. I do have one last question, though. If TLO does something completely funky and offbeat and crazy that we haven't seen before, do you have any inkling in the corner of your brain what that might be?
Wow, that must be something really special. Maybe some sort of Queen Hydralisk thing, for example, with with the creep highway. I think he enjoys the creep highway a lot with the early Overlord speed. You can get it out so fast. And
yeah, he's been doing that a lot.
TLO is just a master of doing lots of things at once and getting the Overlords out there. Perfect map control, like we could see in the games against Grubby.
Yeah.
Wow, he did so well with just spreading Overlord and had complete map vision. So might see that here as well.
All right, well, let's see if TLO can take this victory. This is a major one for him because he is still battling to try his best to salvage as much honor as he can from here. Hasn't had the best tournament. Looking forward to get some good results in the bag. Let's see what he can do against Golden as he prepares to get into game number 1. Your commentators, ladies and gentlemen, let's throw it over to Todd and Kalaris.
Thanks, guys. Welcome back to the caster's desk, as I am joined by Todd once again. And Todd, for me and you, this is where it all began. ZVZ.
Yeah, I remember we casted a lot of those together during the Iron Squid qualifiers. But this time it's going to be on Harder Swarm, and I really like the insight we just got out of Snoot. And what I deduce from it is that we can see pretty much anything out of TLO.
Yeah, we really could. Golden, though, he's no pushover by any means. The last time these two actually played against one another was way back in IPL 4, where Golden was able to take the victory over TLO 2-1, in fact. But, I mean, I don't know how Golden is going to play here. For all I know, he will probably retreat back to the muta style that is so popular in ZVZ right now. And again, we had questions from our analysis desk yesterday, which was, well, both players are going for muta. Why doesn't someone just switch straight into infestors? Well, if you're caught in that transitionary period, it's very hard to really make it work from that point on.
Yeah, we saw TLO try to go for just that against Stefano, but Stefano handled the switch from TLO beautifully. He was able to do enough damage for him to secure a good enough lead to win the game later on. So TLO is going to have a really hard time against Golden. I'm guessing he has to play his best here if he wants to have a single chance to advance, as I do think he has a chance to advance.
Golden smiling there. As soon as he said that, I was like, wait a minute, Golden is suddenly Stefano. But there you go. Spawning down in the bottom left-hand corner here as our blue Zerg. He goes by the name of Startail Golden. And spawning up to the top right-hand corner as our red Zerg. You guys know him out in the crowd. Give it up for TLO.
And we had an extractor trick here for Golden. Both builds are pretty similar. I remember you're the ZVZ expert. You taught me everything about this matchup, man.
It was, Wings of Liberty.
What about Heart of the Swarm?
Well, I actually haven't been able to play too much of it, I must admit. I've been playing, because normally I play random in Wings of Liberty, but I've actually been playing a lot of Protoss in Heart of the Swarm, just to kind of get my bearings with that to kick things off. But we'll be switching back into random very soon. But we've seen quite a bit of ZVZ, as Apollo has already filled us in on the fact that not a lot has changed in the mid-game, other than the fact that the Mutalisks have become all the more common now. Just constant muta production, because they are so ridiculously strong here in this matchup.
And TLO actually going for the hatch first here at 15, whereas Golden went for the pull first, the safer route. I remember you explaining me how equal this is, as long as one of them doesn't take his extractor much earlier than the other. And actually TLO is making an extractor right now. He's not going to cancel that. He already has enough supply to make more units if he wants. So he a little bit greedy. Hatch first, extractor, followed by a pull. He should be fine, as Golden is not doing a very early rush and has gone for the standard pull followed by hatch.
Yeah, and it's really where, the queens equalize out things here. So once we see, Golden with his queen out and about, that's going to allow him just to catch up in terms of that lava once his opponent's hatchery is finished up, really equalizing those odds. And TLO is going to shark in here, see this extractor, and be comfortable with the fact that he has his own extractor. So there's still opportunities for him to easily get going, the speed and even banelings if he wants to. Doesn't have enough for speed just yet, so we'll see if he keeps those on after getting that 100 gas.
And Golden able to see TLO's gas. I think he clicked on it and saw that speed should be starting very soon here. He knows that his speed will be later than TLO's. This should trigger some defensive posture out of him.
Yeah, and he's left those guys actually in gas there. Unfortunately for him, was pushed away, so it doesn't really see exactly that is the case. But TLO still mining a lot of gas, whilst we have Golden just catching up with his gas income here, just to get speed out. It's very scary if you're going speedless against an opponent going for speed. But for now, Golden just going to tickle a little bit.
And TLO saving his drone here by making an extractor. I'm pretty sure he's going to be cancelling that as soon as those two links come to reinforce at his expansion. And I like this pressure by Golden. He's achieved a lot already. He's made a drone transfer to the main. He's made a drone start an extractor and then cancel it. And again, he's going to continue with this. But as the queen comes out, he's going to retreat now. Very nicely done by Golden.
Yeah. And this is where, TLO has still kept his gas income hidden, but Golden, meanwhile, because he hasn't actually been able to get in there, I like that he's left his guys on gas so that he can try and get a little bit of a defensive posture if he wants to. He's already going for that defensive posture in that Baneling nest planted at his natural. And meanwhile, well, TLO is doing the same, but he still has a lot of gas saved up. I wonder where he's going to actually spend this.
And neither of them are going for extra queens right now. They're just going to stay on 2 queens. TLO with the later Baneling nest. He's going to speed just finish for him. Oh, he's going to run in there with the speed of his 2 Zerglings, being able to see that there's nothing too special being made, no Roach Warren. And actually just behind this, Golden starts his lair in his main and goes for another extractor.
Yeah, sneaky little guy indeed here. TLO actually has gained himself a really good gas lead now, but he doesn't know about his opponent's lair being that fast. And technically Golden taking a little bit of a risk dumping that much gas into the lair, whereas, TLO could have potentially been going for some kind of bailing aggression. He would have been spending his gas on that, and he wouldn't have had too much gas to actually go for the defense if there was a ton of Lings actually coming in. But he's going to gain a little bit of an advantage in terms of when the Spire comes up if he wants to go for that. And TLO, once his Spire finishes, he will be able to eventually catch up on that Mutas because he has so much gas, I feel.
Yeah, that's the thing. Golden, his lair is 25 seconds ahead of TLO's, but I mean, by the time you cross the map, this is not going to matter. If they both go for that Spire and Mutas, TLO is just gonna have so much gas. I mean, Golden just now saturating the extractors in his expansion. TLO was mining for, I think, a minute or two extra before Golden started mining from his.
And there's a Spire for Golden. We're just waiting a few more seconds, around 30 seconds or so, for TLO to throw his down. There's no evolution chambers have gone down. It would be very strange for him to really go for anything else at this point. A ton of Zerglings are flooding out here, just making sure he can keep himself well defended at his two bases. Where is our Spire?
It hasn't been started just yet. Could he go for... Oh, okay, no, he's not going to go for anything else. He goes for the Spire in the back of his main. And Golden is actually creep spreading a little bit from his natural to his third, so he's not going to creep spread in the middle of the map for now.
Yeah, ooh, calm down, Zerglings. You know, whoa, well, one Zergling for one Baneling, that's a nice little trade there. Meanwhile, Golden actually going for some pressure here, spending a lot of his gas that would have been saved up originally for Mutalisks, as he is lacking behind around 200 or 300, and he sees the Spire. Oh, but Banelings connect, and a lot of cancellations there, making sure he doesn't lose too many minerals in the end.
And TLO, he saw all of the Zerglings leaving the base of Golden. He's going to go for some Spine Crawlers. He already has a bunch of Banelings. He has to be very careful. Oh! Almost detonating on a lot of units here. TLO trading. Maybe he should have just detonated.
Yeah, good trades here by Golden, because he just doesn't really TLO doesn't really have the Zerglings to be able to... Oh my god, that first detonation did so much damage, even forcing the buildings at the front that were used for SimCity to actually die off as well here. Golden's putting on a lot of really good pressure, and behind this he's going to have 7 Mutalisks quicker than TLO, but TLO should, if he keeps going for minerals, he keeps having, you know, his income go without having to spend it on Zerglings, he should catch up.
Yeah, TLO's finally starting his own Mutas. He's going to start with 3. He's remade a couple Banelings, and he's behind on the worker count. No, actually he's ahead, 49 to 44. I really thought he was behind because...
It's really interesting though, because normally the limiting factor to getting Mutalisk counts up is gas, but TLO is running to a spot here where it's minerals, because he lost so many Zerglings to his opponent's Banelings that the minerals were traded off so ridiculously efficiently for Golden, and he keeps doing it with some of these Banelings.
And I like how Golden doesn't press forward too early on. He knows his third is much earlier than TLO's, so he's just going to try to supply block him for now by killing 3 Overlords, 2 Overlords and 1 Overseer that were near his base. And he's secure his own third already. I mean, he's mining fully from those gases. He has an Overlord that can see the third of TLO. He knows he's ahead right now. He does not need to attack. He just needs to wait, make units, defend, and just extend his lead from there.
Yeah, the timed aggression of Golden was fantastic with the advantages that he took behind it. It's so nice to be able to actually see that kind of play that's such a high level here in terms of Zerg control. As for now, he actually is going to try and push into this position, but there's so many Mutalisks there, as well as the reinforcing Mutalisks for Golden. But look at this, he actually goes for a counter-attack as well. Banelings connect with a Spine Crawler. That's not necessarily where they want to be going, and he's actually going to get some Queen kills here. This is really, really setting TLO far behind.
Yeah, this is going really well for Golden. He was able to cancel the third. He's going to go into the main, try to kill a couple drones. He defended perfectly at home. I think he lost almost nothing. We had 5 drones killed by Golden, 2 drones killed by TLO, and Golden is going to find himself on 53 drones on 3 bases against the 43 drones of TLO on 2 bases. So from there, TLO, I feel like his only real choice is to go for an all-in, but Golden not going to give him the time, going to come around and put some pressure on with his Mutas.
Yeah, the one advantage TLO has going for him right now is this carapace timing upgrade, but actually it catches a lot of his opponent's Mutalisks out in the Baron there. So we'll be able to fend those off for now. 17 Mutalisks to 19 in favor of Golden, with counterattack still going for Golden, continually denying his opponent's third base. So he always has more gas mining income than his opponent. But again, TLO's one shot is going to be this carapace, and I don't know if it's going to work out.
And again, the third base being cancelled here. Golden refuses to make spores, even though he's ahead. He wants to only make units and keep on overwhelming TLO's bases and economy.
And, well, that carapace timing is going very, very quickly here as Golden's is on the way. That gas income says it all here for Golden, just rocketing ahead of TLO right now. And 24 Mutalisk to 22, still in favor of TLO. But the big situation that is occurring here is that Golden is constantly pumping a lot of his lava into Zerglings, constantly denying that third base. So those 2 Mutalisk deficit that he finds himself in is far worth it for the gas income he has right now.
Oh, and TLO, he went for the spores. He tried to go around to surprise Golden and maybe kill his third with all of those Mutas. But one Mutas spoiled the secret attack, and Golden was able to find those Mutas. TLO decided it's now or never. He's going to engage to those Mutas, and this is not going well for him right now.
More Mutalisk rallying up here as well. Actually, Golden not bringing the Zerglings to soak up any bounces, but it's not going to matter. GG for game number 1, as Golden plays very, very well here in this opening ZVZ.
He dominated the entire game, and TLO, there was no real answer he could give to that. He tried to equalize the losses, but he wasn't able to. And we're going to pass it over to our analysis desk with Jade Shark, Snoot Skywalker, and Mr. Harstem, the Lone Kevin.
I can't hear them.
And Snoot is going to help us understand a little bit of what went on in that game. But first of all, before we get to how that game concluded, let's talk a little bit about the openings. We had a 15 pool and 15 hatch, just some slight deviations there. Nothing major, but gives us maybe a little bit of insight into the players' mindsets going into the rest of the game.
Yeah, what Golden was opening with was a 15 pool, so he wanted to play really safe against cheese builds, for example. But he also took his gas later than TLO, which would indicate that he wanted to be a little bit passive in the early mid game, because TLO would have link speed before. But all TLO did with his links was to just poke in and see what Golden was going for.
Yeah, sure.
So it wasn't really a lot of pressure, so that paid off for Golden. He got extra minerals to work with, and he kept going on with more drones, more minerals, and took it into the early game with more minerals, whereas TLO rushed to 2 bases and took his extractors in the natural really fast. So he went up to 4 geysers, like really, really fast, to pump out as many mutas as possible.
And that actually is going to show in some of the strategic decisions we're going to be taking a look at. We're going to hop into the replay now. We're at around the 8-minute mark, and let's go take a look at what's going on in this particular case, what's going through the heads of these players. So, Snoot, why don't you talk us through here? We're now at the natural of TLO, and we can see already his gas is up to over 600 as this pressure comes in.
Exactly. What we can see here is the result of the macro choices of the players in the early mid game. We see that Golden has lots of links and banelings in the front, which he got as a result of investing more into minerals early on. So he has these minerals to work with. And TLO now has to sacrifice all the gas he saved up for the fancy banelings. So this was a really key move for Golden to drain TLO's gas, because Golden was at a gas deficit and TLO was ahead. But with this move, he was able to draw lots of minerals away from TLO, but also lots of gas. So TLO, he banked everything on being able to get out lots of mutas when his spiral was complete.
So what you're saying is TLO got his 3rd and 4th gases earlier specifically, well, green explosions everywhere, specifically so that he can bank that gas for the mutas, and instead of banking all of that gas, Golden instead opted to go for a Ling Bane pressure, and that forced TLO to spend part of his reserves as well, which he didn't want to do.
Exactly, and the thing that it also gave Golden was the opportunity to not only deny his opponent's 3rd, but also get his own up safely. There was no pressure on the 3rd base whatsoever from TLO, because he was contained on 2 base.
Sure. I guess one final question then, important to ask at this point. After that point of the game where TLO was forced to make those defensive banelings, in your eyes, was the game over by that point, or were there other tweaks that TLO could have made to his play to make sure he stayed on par with Golden? What should he have done better?
It's very difficult to recover from such a deficit. I mean, once you are behind in the muta count and your opponent has been able to mine gas before you, it's almost impossible to recover in CVC. And you will need something like some really good Ling run buys, for example, to take out your opponent's economy. But in general, CVC is extremely unforgiving.
All right. So there you have it, guys. Game number 1, a pretty dynamic ZVZ there between TLO and Golden. Let's see if TLO can claw one back in game 2 and take it to a deciding game. Your commentators for this match are Kalaris and Todd.
Cheers, guys. On to game number 2 here. Newkirk City is our map. And actually, we haven't seen some ZVZ on Newkirk City, I don't believe, just yet. So.
Yep. And I like the analysis by Snoot here. He was already saying before the game that one bailing can change everything. In the end, it was more than one bailing that changed a lot here. But I just had the sickest idea, man. If I played ZVZ, I will make a lot of lanes, go in front of the base of my opponent, make a lot of bailings so that he sees it just right below his overlord. And then at 99% you cancel them, and he's made a lot of bailings. Crush his own gas economy. And then he attacks you and he kills you because it backfired, man.
Ooh, I like it. Mind games. I like it. That's pretty cool. But anyway, for now, we shall have our Blue Zerg spawning down in the bottom left-hand corner, currently 1 up. He goes by the name of Startail Golden. And spawning down to the bottom right-hand corner, currently 1 game down, unfortunately, for him. Ladies and gentlemen, he goes by the name of TLO.
In Newkirk City, a map where I think it's actually similar to Daybreak, I guess, in a way. Watchtower control is going to be important, but not as important as in the other matchups, because you have all of these overlords out on the map, and the opponents cannot deny those for a very long time. So I think in another matchups, I would say this is a map where you will see a lot of split map situations. But in ZVZ, I mean, there is just so much action, and it's going to be so hard. We saw Golden, he never let TLO take a third in the previous game.
Nope, not at all. And I think this is another map that really lends itself very, very nicely to Mutalisk play here again in ZVZ. There's just, you know, so much area around the natural, around, you know, the 3 bases very close to your base, where you can just dive in and out, up and down cliffs, basically, making it very, very difficult for your opponent to deal with if he doesn't actually go Mutalisks as well. So,
and you're always on close by here on this map.
Yeah. Always, always. So it's a little bit of a toughie, as both players do open up with spawning pool, making sure that nothing crazy is going to go on with early pool aggression, etc., and then just forego the early hatch to grab one right now.
And they went for very identical builds so far in this game. If you look at the production tab, perfect mirror. With Golden, I guess, being a little bit late on both his pool and Edge, shouldn't be too relevant in this game. You know, TLO is actually pretty good with those mineral tricks, man.
Yeah, he is. He does all right with them. And, I mean, with this now, he's getting his queen out a little bit quicker, not really too much in this at all. As for now, Golden just going to produce 2 links to see exactly what's going on, even the cancellation and going down there on the extractor. So as you say, mineral tricks.
Yeah, single extractor trick here. Golden is not going to go for an extractor trick, so he wants to have gas earlier than TLO in this game. And TLO, since he's not going for an extractor here, if he does not throw down one of those soon, I think he might go for a 3 or 4 queens build where he takes his gases later on.
Yeah, could try. I mean, there's all the room in the world to try and be a little bit more defensive on this map, because the way in which the natural really works out quite nicely. The ramp can be defended. The creep does end up spreading up to the edges of that eventually, if you get maybe one creep tumor down for the very left-hand side or the very right-hand side, depending on which place you spawn in. But for now, we'll see how both players want to shape it up, as we just have a few drones on the way here for Golden.
And you know, Snoot in the pre-game analysis, he mentioned how TLO likes those creep highway strategies. This is definitely going to be one of the maps where this is going to be harder to pull off because of the distance between the 2 bases. Yeah. But I mean, it will be a straight highway from right to left, and if it's the German highway, there is no speed limit, man. You can get there really fast.
Them autobahns, they scare the hell out of me. As an English person only going around 60 miles an hour, 200 kilometers an hour is a bit quicker than I'm used to, actually.
You gotta live fast, man.
Dude,
YOLO.
I have a story to tell you later on, but good God, autobahns scare the hell out of me. Like, just spending hours of driving throughout the night, going at 230 kilometers an hour, with the driver saying, "Don't worry, you can sleep." I'm like, I don't think I can sleep going at this speed, thank you. So, yeah.
And Golden is going to go for a Baning Nest at his expansion as well as a Spine Crawler. And Golden, he seems to like to creep spread a minimum in ZVZ. He wants to have, I guess, the vision from the creep spread. It's not as much for the speed as for the vision. TLO is going to be adding a lot of gases here. He already has 2 in his main. He's going to be adding 2 in his expansion in a second. He's already up to 4 queens. And he's going to do some creep spread of his own, I guess, just up the ramp here.
Yeah, not too bad a position to put it in at all. Just in case you realize your opponent's going for some kind of crazy roach attack, you can throw down evolution chambers at the front to try and start walling things off, etc. Or even zerglings. Big zergling attacks do also help out with that. But both players going for Leia. No detections of any evolution chambers going down just yet. So we're anticipating Spire versus Spire once again.
And yeah, this is a remake of the previous game. I mean,
pretty much.
Golden Slayer is 20 seconds ahead of TLO's. TLO's was on 4 gases before Golden was. Now all that's left is for Golden to make a bunch of links and again go for that baiting aggression, man.
Yeah, and I mean, with this, Golden has a look around. He doesn't really see much other than the fact that these two gas gases are going. Now, of course, there is the potential that his opponent hasn't taken both gas gases in the main, but it's very unlikely here. So Golden should be able to anticipate what his opponent is up to a certain degree.
And actually, both of these players are up to 40s. I guess they were at 47, but now one of them spent 1 drone, the other one made a couple more. So we're going to have 50 drones for TLO to 47 for Golden. They're going to start making Zerglings, who have 14 on the way for Golden, 4 for TLO. TLO starts his Spire 15 seconds later than Golden, so he caught up by 5 seconds, I guess, there.
Yep, the Spire's now on the way. Golden here, he's not got too much gas saved up. He's probably wanting to go for a little bit of a poke once again. Although that being said, TLO's already preparing for that eventuality. He's getting a few Zerglings himself, but Golden's taking a quick third behind this. And TLO, he somehow needs to overpower the little bit of aggression that's coming from him and then somehow get his Zerglings over to that third to deny it. Because if it goes out of control again, it's going to be bad for TLO.
And TLO's sending in an Overseer and Golden's main right now. He's going to be able to spot exactly the Mutas timing when he sees the Spire at the expansion. Oh, actually, he's not moving his Overseer. Definitely needs to fix that. TLO is going to try to take a third, but Golden delayed it with those links.
Yeah, it looks like TLO here is going to take that third just now. So that's a pretty good spot for Golden to be in, just about halfway hatchery forwards than his opponent. But just supply block him for a little bit. And this is going to make it a little bit harder for Golden to fully recoup the losses that he does incur here. Oh! Nice Baneling connection there. Really, really well done. But at the same time, these Zerglings absolutely monstering through here. I thought TLO was going to bust out and try and deny the third, but it looks like Golden gets the third.
Apparently in this series, TLO has been prohibited from taking a third, and we have a huge run by on the way here, Kelaris.
Yeah, trying to bust up the ramp here. He's going to get a Queen for his troubles, maybe even a lot more damage as well. He actually just, a little bit of indecision there forces him and tries to now run on into the main here, trying to get the Queen, but the drones push it out of the way. Really, really actually good position here for the drones in relation to actually saving that Queen. But 13 Mutalisks on the way for TLO, 10 on the way for Golden, and that is all just because he was supplied for just a little bit during all that.
TLO with the balls of steel here. He did not rush for many Zerglings to try to defend against this. He took his time. He chose to go for the Mutas, and now he's going to stabilize with 86 supply to 89. Golden again, he has his third so much earlier than TLO, and he's going to try to get a cancel again on the third of TLO. I don't think he's going to get it this time. But
well, those Lurglings running out for now. But at the same time, Golden is going to have his 5th and 6th gas guys just a little bit quicker here than TLO. And that's really going to account for quite a lot, especially if the Mutalist bounces are actually soaked up here by the Zerglings as they go for the aggression. But Golden's going to have his Carapace way before TLO. So TLO does not want to overstay his welcome for too long. It's 11 Mutalists to 13 in this vicinity right now as they all just popped as the reinforcements. And he's just going to go for it, denying the Zerglings on the ground. That Carapace still not finished, but the Queens should be able to support for long enough.
And TLO trying to out-micro Golden here. And he's actually going to go and fight against those Mutas plus those Queens, and he's lost a little bit too much here. He's going to have to retreat. And I love that Golden, upon finishing his fire, started the Carapace immediately. He's going to have that Carapace 80 seconds before his opponent.
Yeah, and oh god, is he really going to get the cancellation once again? If he does, that's catastrophic. Oh, he doesn't even get the cancel. He doesn't go for it. He's just going to sacrifice this hatchery, and with that, Golden now still on 5th and 6th gas. He has a 300 gas lead over his opponent pretty much here.
Apparently TLO didn't get a notice from Golden that he's prohibited to take a third, but Golden, he's not going to let go of his rule here. TLO is going to go for the Infestation Pit as a desperation move, as Golden pulls really far ahead on economy right now.
Time and time again in Wings of Liberty, we saw a lot of ZVZ, and one of the focal points was denying the third over and over. It hasn't changed here coming into Heart of the Swarm. All that really has changed is we're seeing a ton more Mutalisks, and Golden, he knows if he just seizes the third and denies his opponent over and over, he's almost guaranteed to win because he's always going to have more Mutalisks, 15 to 9.
And look at this amount of Zergling and Mutas. Golden could just go for it now. But he's going to play it safe. He's on 3 bases against 2. You do not need to rush in and lose everything.
Well, this is do or die here for TLO. He's trying to go into pathogen glands. He's got his infestation pit down. This is his last hope. This is his last chance at really being able to break out of this relatively effective contain that Golden has right now. And Golden, he has a window if he actually wants to go and push with 18 Mutalisks against 11 or do some harassment. He can do as long as he circumvents a lot of spores.
But I'm not sure that he knows right now. I mean, he must realize that TLO has been quitting the Muta production for some time, and we have the first 2 Infestors on the way. They're going to get on the field in 10 seconds here.
Yeah, they're going to come out pretty soon, and if they pop right next to these Mutalisks, it's going to be a little bit dire for him. He's going for the engagement. Everything is just clustered completely here. Can't really tell what's going on. I think all the Mutalisks have almost died. Yes, it's 18-8. They escape, and no fungal growths are able to land.
Wow, and Golden pulling back just on time here. I don't know if his Spider Sense kicked in, but he's being very cautious.
Ooh, well, it could land a good fungal. It's actually completely whiffs. It misses all of the Mutalisks. 20 still to 8 in favor of Golden right now. And he even has more Zerglings. The only thing really holding on for TLO right now is the threat of Infestors and even Queens.
But yeah, there's just so much units right now for Golden, even if he was to get those Mutas fungled. There isn't enough Infestors just yet to chain fungal them and kill them. So TLO is just going to have to be patient right now to try and come back in this game.
Oh, another fungal hit, but it doesn't really hit too much there. Only catches around 5 of the Mutalisks. And, I mean, Golden being so far up in terms of supplies, rallying a lot of Zerglings as well as a lot of the Mutalisks. All he really needs to do is separate these Mutalisks. That's a great fungal, but I don't know whether or not it's going to be enough. He doesn't really have the capability of actually chaining that right now, as he's still microing back and forth here. They're so clumped up. Golden doesn't care that his opponent has Infestors. He's just going straight for the throat here. Catches a Queen. Another fungal hits half of the Mutalisks, but there's no fungals left. The Infestors are left to die. Some spores are killing them off, but there you go. GG. Startail Golden and takes it.
Golden used the regeneration of those Mutas so well. He came in every time, killed stuff, pulled out, let those Mutas regenerate their 8 points, and then came back into the fight.
Yeah, very, very impressive display there by Golden, really seizing the control there in ZVZ, constantly denying the third, making it so hard for TLO to really match the production. But for now, we are going to send it over to the analysis desk, guys, with Astum, Jorasar, and Snoot.
All right, guys, a pretty impressive game there in game number 2. And congratulations to Golden there for getting that victory over TLO. Now, we had a little bit of a change in the build orders this time in the way the players sort of prepped themselves up. I mean, some of the concepts were still similar, but the way the players got there was subtly different. And I think Snoot is on hand here, fortunately, to explain what went on there for us.
Yeah, what we saw TLO do in this game was that he went for a gasless opening for Queens. And then I believe he took all of his 4 extractors at once.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he got... it was the same plan as the previous game, just in a little bit of a different approach.
Style.
Yeah, the Spanishiwa style. You play gasless, get as many drones out as possible, get the Queens for the early game defense, and then you get 4 gases to really start pumping up the gas count for the Mutas later on.
All right, so we're going to be delving a little bit deeper into what that meant for TLO and how Golden was able to respond to that in just a minute. But for now, we're going to be hopping over to main stage for an interview with Rachel.
Hey, everybody. I hope you like that little Baneling there. That's my buddy. He's been traveling with me. I thought he would like to meet you after. Oh, careful, he'll explode. Todd was casting, and he made an interesting idea. He was saying that you can put a bunch of Zerglings outside your opponent's base, morph them into Banelings, get your opponent to start morphing Banelings, and then cancel after he spent all his gas. What do you think about that?
이제 캐스터들이 말했던 것 중에 상대방 본진 앞에서 저글링을 배치시킨 다음에 베인링으로 변하는 거 모습을 보여준 다음에 상대방이 베인링을 만들게 하는 거예요. 그런 다음에 다시 자기는 캔슬을 하는 거에 대해서 어떻게 생각하는지.
그게 캔슬이 된 게 아니라 아마 베인링에 터졌을 거예요. 저는 취소를 한 적이 없어요.
He doesn't remember canceling them.
Oh no, not him. It was Todd's idea. New idea.
그 아이디어를 어떻게 생각해요?
가스가 낭비되기 때문에 별로 좋은 아이디어는 아닌 것 같고요. 그냥 가끔씩 심리전 할 때 써먹을 수는 있을 것 같아요.
He thinks perhaps he can use it sometimes, but in normal games he thinks it would be a loss of gas.
Well, there you go, Todd. There's your answer. Anyway, against TLO, what did you observe about differences in your play and his play that allowed you to take the lead?
TLO 선수랑 경기를 했는데 TLO 선수랑 본인 스타일이랑 뭐가 다른 것 같고 뭐 때문에 이긴 것 같은지.
빈틈이 많아서 제가 그 공격을 하면서 빈틈을 잘 잡았던 것 같고요. 또 테크 면에서도 빌드가 좋아가지고 앞서갈 수 있어가지고 더 좋은 결과를 낼 수 있었던 것 같습니다.
He thinks TLO had a few holes in his defense, so he could use them to attack him, and also he thinks he shows good build orders against his build orders.
And do you think you will start incorporating more of the Heart of the Swarm units in your composition, or are you really happy with what you're able to do with Ling Muta, with Ling Infestor?
이제 군심에서는 새로운 추가적인 유닛이 들어왔는데 앞으로도 이제 군심 유닛을 이제 많이 사용하면서 저그전을 풀어나갈 수 있을 것 같은지 아니면 그냥 지금까지 자유날개 썼던 유닛 컴포지션이 좋은지.
아마 저그 대 저그전에서는 별로 바뀌는 점이 없을 것 같아요, 자날보다. 근데 대신 다른 종족전에서 바뀌는 점이 많기 때문에 특히 프로토스전에서 바이퍼가 굉장히 강력하기 때문에 프로토스전을 했으면 굉장히 좋을 것 같아요.
He thinks in ZVZ there will be no huge changes with the new units, but actually in ZVP the Viper is very good against the Protoss, so he will try to use it as often as he can.
Well, I look forward to your future games and seeing how you work those guys in. We're going to go back to the analysts, take a look back at Game 2.
That's right, guys. Heading back into how Golden won that second game, we saw, of course, that going into the mid-game, he just had a really nice advantage because he was able to put a lot of pressure on TLO, and I believe Harstem during the game was talking a little bit about that.
Yeah, it just seemed like Golden had a lot more links, and I'm not sure why that was.
I think in the transition into the mid-game, Golden was able to put out a lot more links. He didn't make as many overlords as TLO did. You know, usually you reach 60 supply, but Golden cut his drone production a little bit earlier than TLO, and he was simply able to get out more links than TLO did at this stage in the game. It could be something like injects. I'm not exactly sure how it happened, but the end result was that Golden was able to get more links to the front, and TLO was unable to take it third.
You want to take a look at it in the replay?
Yeah, off the back of that, I mean, we'll get to see some of the strategic decisions that both players made that really dictated how the middle of that game would go for both parties. So let's see what goes on here.
So yeah, like we mentioned earlier, TLO went for the gasless approach for a while, and as we can see here, he is way ahead in gas. He can afford way more mutas, but Golden, with his mobility and army advantage, was able to secure a third, just like the previous game.
Yep.
So, yeah, there's no pressure being put on this.
Well, that's right. I mean, the third base got denied several times there, was cancelled once, and then was killed a little bit later on as well. What could TLO have done differently in order to try and secure his own third? Was it as simple as getting a lot of lings earlier on, or was there something else maybe you could have done a bit later?
What you could have done would be to use Banelings to defend it. And we also see TLO trying to sneak a little bit of creep down. So something he could have done would be to creep even more aggressively by using his overlords on lair tech.
Yep.
And transferring spines, for example. Because TLO's plan with this all this time was to not use any gas on Banelings for his defense early on. And this critical Baneling hit that we just saw completely, you know, there's no chance now that TLO lost so many links that he would be able to secure his third. So CVC is this unforgiving. At this moment, the game was over simply because Golden had the base advantage.
And then later on, of course, TLO tried to get back into it with those infestors and fungal growths. But while he got a couple of good fungals off on the Mutalisks, it wasn't enough to... he didn't get the chain fungals off. The energy just wasn't there.
The thing is that TLO, he had this 2-base gas advantage. He started mining earlier on. So at the time, he almost seemed like he was able to push back with a little bit of a Muta advantage. But the Queens came in for the defense, and Golden held at the third. Yeah. And at that point, there's no way that you can keep up in the long run. And Golden just kept TLO contained on 2 bases. And from there, there's very, very little you can do. And the Infestor comeback is one of the few things you can try, but it didn't work in this case.
Sure.
So basically, when you lose your third and the other guy has one, in Mura against Mura, it's going to be a really tough fight.
It's really difficult, almost impossible.
So it all came down to the one bailing hit and him not having any static defense there, or?
It's kind of like, it goes back to what Golden was saying in the winners interview. He talked about how his build orders were really effective against TLO. And I think it works really well against someone who is investing heavily into 2-base tech.
Yep, sure.
To get the 3rd base up before your opponent in those cases is a crucial part to getting ahead in the later stages of the mid game. So Golden's build orders and his timings, when to make links, and he delayed his gas a bit, worked out really well for him. Whereas TLO's strategy might have worked a lot better against someone who would put on very early pressure, something like 2-gas link Baneling pressure, for example.
Right.
But in this case, the build orders didn't pan out his way.
I also think in that second game, I don't think we saw a Baneling Nest, I want to say, from TLO as well. He tried to skip that.
Yeah, and by that, he got so many mutas out. But, Golden had the queens in place at the 3rd. And despite TLO being able to convert all of his gas into the mutas, it still wasn't enough to break Golden's defenses.
All right, then. Well, congratulations there to Golden. A very well-played series there, and that earns him a pretty crucial victory. It's a massive scrap, of course, in Group D, the group of death. So many good players in one place, so many fan favorites playing today. And speaking of fan favorites, you're going to get to watch, according to my schedule here, I believe MVP and Stefano are going to be next up on this stream. So incredibly exciting times ahead, and an absolutely explosive best of three even coming your way in free HD all weekend, of course, thanks to our sponsor, BenQ. So fantastic stuff, guys. Don't go anywhere. We're here with more action from the Intel Extreme Masters World Championship straight after this break.